Hello, welcome to My Therapy Hat podcast. Today I have Micah and Sarah with me.
Hello.
Hello.
They also have a podcast. You guys want to plug that real quick?
It's called the IPP podcast, also known as the I'm Poo podcast, every Friday at 9. Thank you very much.
We poop on it.
Talk about poo poo, pee pee, caca.
I think they're just pooped. These two work and go to school and they're busy and photographer and editor and artist and my God.
I do edit this podcast.
Yes, you do.
I do.
Very good job. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I had brought up in an earlier podcast that there are 7 stages of grief, traditionally 5. So I wanted to expand on that because I was unable to remember all the stages, and
How dare you?
I know, and I don't like that where they're like, yeah, sure, there's 7.
Sure, she's certified.
I'm sure that degree is putting in work. I'll tell you
bet
what.
she's licensed.
There's
She
a
doesn't
lot of
even
things
know.
to remember.
There are a lot of
There's a
things
lot.
to remember. I was actually cleaning, going off on a little tangent here. I was cleaning out stuff to move to my new office today, and I was going through a bunch of my old stuff, and I was like, my God, all of this came out of my head. How? How is that all? How did I learn all
Sounds
of
like
that?
a completely different person on paper.
Yeah.
You're like, what
wow,
the heck?
She
was
sounds
like,
really good. Who is she? Oh my
She
God, that
sounds
has
so
my name on it.
smart. She sounds so smart and educated, and she has a degree. Oh my God.
I was reading some curriculum that I had created, and I'm like, my God, this is real. I didn't know I'd created it first. I'm like, oh my God, this is really good. See down at the bottom, because I always made sure that I put my name down at the bottom. I was like, holy crap, I wrote that. I created that. Damn, that's good. I'm going to put that in there.
That's one of the 7 stages is denial.
And acceptance.
And
I had to
shock,
accept
apparently.
a shock. Okay, yeah, we're getting there. So there are things, I wanted to start out with things that we grieve. What do you think those are?
Could be a few things. I mean, it depends on the person. Someone could grieve not getting a job interview. I did that one time.
I grieved quitting a job that I loved.
You grieve quitting a job.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was a shock to me. I don't think because I was like,
What, did I quit?
Yeah. No, you grieving it.
Oh,
'Cause I
yeah.
was like-
It's just, I loved it there.
Yeah.
Like this job, I'd been there for a year. I was getting so good at what I was doing. I was going to work and I was loving it. And then we got a new manager, and boy, did I not like her. She came in, she pretended to know everything. She wouldn't take our advice. She didn't know what she was doing, and she kind of just trampled over the whole thing. And I was like, I'm miserable. I have to quit. And for the next 4 months, I was like, man, like there are some days I wish I didn't quit that job, but I knew it was better for me if I did. But it still sucks. Like I think on it fondly, like of my time there. I was like, man, I wish sometimes I was still working there.
People grieve pets. That's a big one. Relatives passing away.
I
don't
use
do
one.
that.
You don't do that, or you haven't done that.
I
I don't grieve people when they die. That's what you made it sound like.
kind of don't.
But have you had anybody that you needed to grieve about? Or because the way that I look at it is like when I lost my grandparents, and this is how I explain it to when clients are grieving a loss. If it's a grandparent or it's someone that you kind of expected that.
Yeah.
You know, there was an expectation that grandma was going to pass away, grandpa was going to pass away. But when it's a friend and it's someone that's just, what? I just talked to them. There's that shock. And that's where it can be hard to understand.
That's where I haven't had that experience. I haven't had
me
a
neither.
friend that I know pass away, or like a family member that I'm super close to pass away. That's what I mean by I don't grieve those people.
Yeah. Well, and in my
I don't grieve those
experience,
people.
I had the people that were expected.
Yeah.
The grandparents, even the pets. Like I've had a few pets though that it was a shock.
Yeah.
We had one, Ozzy, my cat
Griswold.
Ozzy Osbourne. She was crazy train. My spirit animal got a tattoo. But
Griswold was one too.
Griswold was one. That was me as emotional support animal. So there were those that were shocks. It was like, what? But I have had those people, clients that I've lost to overdose or suicide. I just saw this person. What do you mean? I remember one that I really I had to step out of, like, not not blur a boundary, but I had to step into a different role. This person didn't have a close relationship with a parent and, was really struggling with some grieving and just different things. And this person would come into my office to do what we had. Sound bath was right outside in the other room. And I'd allow this person to come in and lay in my office while I did notes, and slowly this person was able to participate in sound bath and just did some things that were kind of like, I probably wouldn't have done for other clients if I could have challenged them. I felt like I was challenging this person in this way. And so I remember the day that I went to work and was told this person had passed. And I remember one of my coworkers looking at me and going, "Do you know who I'm talking about?" And I'm like, what? And I couldn't, for the life of me, I could not think like who they were talking about, because I was like, I just spoke to this person. How is this? What? And I realized I was experiencing shock. And I remember that my coworker shutting my office door and going, "I need you to listen to what I'm saying." I hear you. I don't know what you're talking. Like this coworker of mine could tell that I was in shock. And then I can remember when the coworker was like, "You know what, Christy, I understand. And this will always resonate with me. Everybody asks, where's the therapist? But they don't ask, how's the therapist?" He goes, "I'm going to ask you that right now." And he goes, "I want you to listen." And he was like, really like taking his time to let it sink in. And I just broke. Yeah. I broke. And I think that that's where he needed me to get, because then it hit me.
Yeah.
But that was the first time that I had experienced shock like that.
Yeah.
And again, like I've had the shocking experiences with the pets, but we grieve people, we grieve pets, we grieve jobs, we grieve relationships, we grieve financial instability. If I've had it and now I don't, going from like, married and stable, to single with, raising kids, there was a grieving that I literally had to go through, because I understood that I could cognitively understand that I wasn't going to have these things. I couldn't understand that I wasn't going to have these things. Yeah. So I
want a flamethrower for Christmas. Son, I can't get you that.
Dag nabbit.
Here's what we can get. Try a candy cane. Happy?
I guess so, Mom.
We grieve health issues. I've had to sit with clients that have these health issues that have come and we're working through these. Because some people, it's hard to understand that, what do you mean I'm not going to be able to see, my kids in a couple months because my vision's failing? What do you mean I'm not going to be able to go running like I used to, because now I my hips messed up, my knees messed up. These may seem like things, again, like these are things that we grieve. People, I could care less if I run, but if I'm sitting there with a client that's their life, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be hard for you. I mean, I'd be a little bit more sensitive than that.
Yeah, that's really
gonna
gonna
be rough. And
I'm helping. Do you see the degree on the wall?
Look, I know what I'm talking about, okay? You're grieving this.
I'm certified, I swear.
But health issues, and these are real to people, because that if I've done this, every day of my life, and now I'm not going to be able to do this, what am I going to do? If I've had my vision my entire life and I've noticed that it's failing, what am I going to do? These are things, life transitions. There's a diagnosis that is an adjustment disorder. And I often give this to people because there's, if a transition, if a kid goes from say they're in high school, they're living at home, and all of a sudden they just pack up and move to college 200-300 miles away from home, and mom and dad aren't there, and now I'm struggling with some anxiety. That's a transition. I may be grieving that, yeah, I wanted to get out of this house. I couldn't wait to get away from mom and dad, but now my mom and dad's not here. There is that I do help people with that, understand that this is an adjustment for you. We're going to have to grieve some of these things. We're going to have to adjust these. We're going to have to come to some acceptance, And so then the last one that wasn't on this list, pets was not on this list. I added it, and dreams.
Oh, like aspirations, that kind of thing?
Goals, aspirations, dreams.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Is it like giving up on them as Like what is the context of
Well, so the example that I'm going to give, it's probably going to be pretty controversial. It's say I have a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
I have a baby girl. And I'm the mom and I'm holding this baby girl and I'm seeing her having this big white wedding and having kids and just being a wife and a mother. And this little girl tells me that she's a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now having to mourn. I'm having to grieve that dream.
I see. Okay.
And I've actually had to sit with clients that I'm like, this is a dream that you had.
Mm-hmm.
You had this. Your daughter didn't have this. Your son didn't have this. You had this. But what is that life going to look like? And some people really have a hard time visualizing because that's the dream.
Yeah.
That's what I want for that kid. So that's one example. Another one could be, I've used the example, I think, in the last podcast where a kid loses a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
I had this dream of being championships and everybody was going to know us and we were going to get to go on and be, celebrated and get these big trophies. But we lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
Lost that dream. Now that's something.
Sorry, I'm thinking in my head. I was always a loser in soccer.
Oh my God, Micah!
He never thought that
all
way.
These big trophies. Dad had all these trophies. My team's on a losing streak for 3 seasons in a row. I'm just like, hey, I'm just happy to be playing.
I'm just happy to be here.
They're like, Micah, you lost again. I'm like, honestly,
So
kind of
what?
happy that game was over.
Thanks for including me, guys. I'm grateful to be on your field.
So we grieve dreams if we've created this in our head, or we've already moved on to the next stage, or we've already visualized this, so we can grieve a dream. So what is that?
No, it's like I would think the closest I would think for somebody is to me is like I've told my family like several times, like I'm not having kids. I do not want children. Loud and sticky. Don't want kids. And I'm like the thing that like my mom, I know it took her a bit to kind of realize like, oh, she's serious. Like she's not having kids. There's no amount of convincing that would change that. Luckily my brother's having kids. And so I was like, she still gets one. At least one. But my grandma was the same way. Like she's still convinced like that when Micah and I get married, she's still so convinced. She's like, oh, you guys will get married and you'll have kids. You'll change your mind.
What it was they're like, oh, you'll find the right guy and he'll change your mind. Well, the right guy has come around. And now they're like,
and he said he didn't want kids either. I'm like, damn, that sounds really nice.
And now they're like, okay, well, and what's the next step in the relationship?
Yeah.
When you get married, then you'll have kids. And we're like, no.
She's like, you don't have to keep hanging on. Like, but the thing is, like, that would happen to me if I did have kids. Like, if I did have kids, all of the dreams that I do have would be shattered. It's kind of the opposite of the example you gave. Like, if I did have kids, like, I am now not myself. I am an extension of this child. Like, I am this child's life. That would, like, crush everything I would want to do. Like,
it's kind of like, what are the moms who send their kids off to
like boarding school or like military things like
it's like girls. They have those
like an all-girls school?
No, they're not sending them off. That was a bad wording. When they have beauty shows.
Oh, the little beauty queens.
Yes, I see what you mean.
Like they're living vicariously through this
doing
kid,
something they couldn't do when they were
once
younger.
They win, you're like, oh my god! But then when they lose, or if they don't want to do that, parent has to now grieve that the kid doesn't want to fulfill that parent's dream
vicariously.
Yeah.
And when that kid, like you said, when that kid loses, it's like that parent loses.
Yeah.
And so we grieve dreams. And if we stop and we think about that, there's been a lot of things that we've probably thought throughout the years, that, well, this is what I aspire to be. And then when it didn't happen, maybe we just moved on, or maybe there's something that we're just like, oh man, I wish I would have pursued that.
Yeah.
That could be something.
Soccer player, professional Call of Duty player.
That's like, I don't know if I've ever like grieved a dream. I think I've just kind of moved on. Like things change, things happen. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just very nonchalant about it. I don't know.
Or maybe it's one of those where, again, like the kid that loses the baseball game, that's a quick passing through all those stages.
Yeah.
You may just quickly grieve that and just move on.
By the
I've
time
done
they're
that.
home, they're just like, all right, well,
Yeah.
tomorrow's a new day.
I don't know. Like, I quit soccer because it wasn't fun anymore. So, like, I quit it. I wasn't forced to quit, or like I wasn't good enough, or we lost a game or whatever. I was just like, I don't want to play anymore. I'm burnt out. Okay, quit, moved on. Like, it was my choice. So I guess when it comes to that, like, I don't know. I moved on. So it wasn't like I went through all of the stages. Like, I knew what I was going to do.
Well, you didn't know you were going through all the stages, but you go through these. And again, I'm going to name off, like, traditionally there's 5 stages.
Dabda.
Dun, dun, dun. There's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Mm-hmm. So we move through these stages. And like I said, traditionally there's 5 stages because, and I didn't, with all these things that I did today, I did not write down when this person came up with 7 stages. Mm-hmm. So they added 2 more stages because they kind of split a couple of the stages into 2.
Yeah.
So now there's 7 stages. And this one, when I read this one, this is why I go with the 7 stages of grieving, because it makes sense to me. Shock. Mm-hmm. There's one, but not every grieving process includes shock. Mm-hmm. It's just like with, again, I go back to the grandparents. Those I knew were passing. My client, my pets, shock. So this one, when I learned this 7-stage grieving, I was like, that was it. That's the one that was missing for a couple of my grieving processes. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, testing, and acceptance. So testing, that was another one. And that one, when I've handed people, and I have this little laminated handout that I give people, we go through this. We all know what shock is. Mm. We all know what that feels like. You know when you've been shocked. You know, I just explained my shocking experiences. We know what denial feels like, sounds like. You know, we know what anger feels like, sounds like. Bargaining. Any idea?
You're making deals with the devil.
Well, like, I don't know. I've never, I don't think I've had something where I've gone through all 5. Like, I'll use my job as like the example. Like,
you did though. I heard you.
I guess
because
I did.
you tried to find a reason.
Yeah, and there was also a moment where I was like, I should have stayed. Like, if there was, I should have. I
would have. Your reasoning. You're giving your reasons of why.
Like, I wish I hadn't left. Like, it'd be better if I stayed.
There's a bargaining. Yeah. So you have bargained.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Oh.
The depression. Now, this isn't clinical depression. And that's where people, I'm not clinically depressed. No, depression is I'm mournful again. I'm tearful. I'm at that stage where I'm just like, oh, not hopeless, but I'm like, I'm emotional.
Yeah.
That's your depression of grieving.
Yeah.
Testing. What could this possibly be?
I could not tell you.
Is it like trying to test for I have no clue. I'm trying to think of
testing how you feel, maybe, like if you're okay with things, if how they are now before moving to acceptance. That's my best guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you may be testing different coping skills.
Oh,
maybe if I'm testing, if I'm in my testing stage, maybe I'm starting to drink a little bit. Maybe I'm starting to take some drugs a little bit. Maybe I'm starting to do some reckless behavior.
I shoot up the good in my veins.
Maybe.
Can you tell that he's never done drugs like that before?
Yeah, I can
shooting
tell.
Up that good.
Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Oh, thank you, Lord.
I shoot some of that good juice up into my
He has no idea the vernacular, so thank God. That's that's the first sign right
that was so street, illiterate version. You could have said that. Like, white boy illiterate. You think you could that that wacky backy in my veins. I'm shooting up.
Yeah, there ain't no addict that's going to be talking like that, Micah. So thank you for talking like that, Micah, because now I know. How do you know your son's never used it? Well, let's listen to him talk for a second. Go.
Like, can you give me 3 other synonyms for drugs? Go. And then that's how you know.
Yeah.
That seriously. Good? Yeah, you're probably fine.
Mm-mm.
You're probably fine.
Bye-bye. So I may be testing, back to my point here.
Yeah.
I may be testing other coping skills, other ways of dealing with this loss.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may may become very reckless in their behavior, and so that's where, again, like when I'm sitting down with someone and they're telling me, oh, that, this happened and this happened, I need to get a history, because with working with substances, someone just doesn't usually just walk up and like, hey, I want to be an addict today. Something has happened. And it's usually a grieving process of something, a loss of something.
Mm-hmm.
And so a loss of a childhood, a loss of a loved one, a loss of, a dream, whatever. I can almost always pin it back to
a divorce.
A divorce.
Mama, it's okay if you hit some of that good. I forgive
Micah,
you.
Anthony.
Nope. No, Micah. No. But I can almost, we can almost pinpoint when I'm working with a client that there has been something that they're grieving, something they've lost, and they're trying to compensate. They're trying to find, a way to cope. And so then we get to acceptance. Now, one of the things that really helped one of my clients was, she's like, I know that I need to hit all 5 stages. And I'm like, in a row? And I'm like, no, we're going to look at 7 stages. So we, I hand her this. She's like, 7. She almost lost it.
Yeah.
Ah,
there's 2 more I have to go through.
Why?
Damn it.
I'm like, well, I'm testing you and I'm challenging you. So here we go. So one of the things that I think people think when they see this, and I want to clear up, is you don't start at stage 1 and go a 1, 2, 3, a 4, 5, 6, 7.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
You don't do that. I know myself. I know that I can start my grieving when I hit anger. Mm-hmm. Anger is where I start to.
It's the Irish in her.
It is. It's the Irish. She comes out. She's like, ah! I can problem solve then, because I can hear myself and I can express myself. But one of the things is, what we have to learn and what we have to accept is, again, like I said, it's not linear. I may go anger, shock. So I may go 3-1, 1-7, 7-5, 5-4. I may toggle all over this sheet of paper. That doesn't mean I'm not grieving or I'm not learning. There may even
be some instances where someone doesn't even have to hit all of those.
No.
They don't even have to. I think that's what another thing is people see it as a list.
Mm-hmm.
People see it as like a checklist.
I'm going to checklist, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you actually don't have to hit all of those.
No.
You can. There are times where I know I've felt where I completely skip a few of those and go straight to acceptance.
I'll go back and forth between the same 2.
Yeah.
For like a month.
Yeah. So it's just like, you don't have to hit all of those. It's not a checklist. It's not a to-do list. It's not it's not a list for you to look at and be like, well, I have to be angry today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you don't. You don't have to be angry. It's about how you.
If I am angry, let me be angry today.
Yeah, it's a release of raw emotion. That's what it is. It's an uncontained way of letting go.
Well, and so like I was saying with that client, as soon as I allowed, and I'm going to say allowed because people, like you said, they see this as a checklist.
Yeah.
As soon as I allowed this client to accept the fact that she may never hit all 7 stages, or she may toggle between a few, between two for a good long time, and then we're ready to move. As soon as we started discussing grieving that way, she started moving. She was able to move herself, and she was able to identify. She would come in and go, okay, I'm angry. Today I'm angry, and I'm like, ooh, because I knew we were going to get a good session. Or today I'm today I'm depressed, and she would sit there and just cry, and we would, there were times I got
session's gonna suck.
There were times I got teary-eyed with her because it was very emotional, and and I remember her saying, okay, I can accept this now because this is where I am. And it doesn't mean that I can't go back and be angry or I can't feel this depression. It doesn't mean that. It means that right now I'm here. Yes. Right now I'm at acceptance. I've hit stage 7.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I shared with this client was when my grandma passed away. She was one of my very best friends. I mean, in that woman's eyes, I could do no wrong. And I've accepted my grandma's gone. You know, there was no bargaining. There was not a lot of that because again, like she and I, we had that connection where when I took you to visit her one of the very last times, and she looked at me and she was like, Christy, I'm just ready to go home. Well, then go home, Grandma. Go home. I went out into the car and I bawled because I knew what going home meant.
Yeah.
So I let her know, this client, that there's still times that something will remind me and I will get depressed, very, very, very emotional. Or I'll get, I'll go back and I'll be like, maybe bargaining, wow, maybe I should have done that when Grandma was alive. Yeah. I'll toggle through these every once in a while, but it's less and less. And that's what I told this client, and I tell clients, when our grieving becomes less, when we fluctuate through these stages less and less, that's when we know we're onto something. That's when we know we're healing. And so there's like, and there's things that trigger those. There's special events, birthdays, and that's where we need to let ourselves feel these things. We need to let ourselves grieve. We need to let ourselves remember, and we need to let ourselves like process through because these events, these birthdays, these special events, holidays, they are going to trigger a grieving. And so there was some things that how to support. Well, one of the things I do is I just listen. That's all I have to do in a lot of things. Listen, validate.
It's what she gets paid to do.
Yeah. So.
Well, and but that's, again, like if you're a friend.
The degree on the wall speaks for itself.
It's not even on the wall, it's on the floor.
It's on the floor. It's leaning against the wall on the floor.
But that's one thing that we as friends, we as family, we can do. We don't have to have an answer. We don't have to make sense of anything. We can listen. We can validate that feeling. It's just like I said, when I have someone's like, I'm angry. Be angry. What are you angry about? I'm angry at the fact I'm angry at the fact that he died. Okay. Be angry at the fact that he died. What's that going to do for you today? Well, it's going to make me feel better that I can, and they, release all this. Then they can process that. Right. I know that I shouldn't be angry with him, and it wasn't his fault that he died. Okay, but you were angry. It's okay to be angry.
Yeah.
And so again, yes, I do get paid to listen, to validate. But
who said that? What are we talking about?
But no. Like when you guys came today, I said that I have a client that, had a loss. And one of my roles is just to sit there and reminisce, to validate, to support. Because again, people think, oh, I shouldn't feel this way. You absolutely can. You are grieving. But one of the other last points that I want to make is there's not a duration of time for grieving. A lot of people say, oh, well, I should already be over this.
Yes, you should. With that attitude.
Oh my God.
I'm agreeing with you on that. I'm reassuring you.
Micah, this is a therapy podcast.
It's not a humor podcast, Micah.
You're not helping.
So
Let's redo that. Go for it.
One of my first experiences. I can't even be serious about grieving. This is a serious topic.
I'm trying to shed some light on some really, tough topics here.
That's not very validating of you.
That's not very. I don't feel validated. I don't
Doesn't sound like you're listening to me. Where's your degree?
He doesn't have one yet. So one of my first experiences with this was I was in my internship and I had a client come in and she had lost a child. And I was like, well, how long ago did this happen? 18 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow. Well, I know everybody tells me I should be over it and blah, blah, blah. And the more I sat there and talked to this person, I said, why? Why should you be over it just like that? I was like, we started talking about
those people suck, by the way.
Yeah.
You should be over it.
Oh, well, you should be over it. Losing a child?
Yeah, holy crap. I don't think I'm ever going to get over Toby dying.
when he hasn't even died yet.
Yeah,
God, you're already like, oh my God, he's gonna.
Toby is his cat.
Yeah, Toby's a cat.
Son. He's my firstborn son.
Yeah, he came out of you.
So as I sat there and I talked to this client, she went through like that she had missed this child's first birthday, kindergarten, all these milestones. And so we sat there and there was a couple, we went through a couple sessions that we did this. She got to grieve the loss of these milestones with me. Mm-hmm. And so there at the end, she decided for his 18th birthday, it was her son, for his 18th birthday, she was going to go, and she had this whole thing planned that she was going to do. Mm-hmm. She went and did it, and she was like, I think I can let him go now. Aww. And I was like, see, that's all someone needed. She needed to be supported because there were milestones. Yeah. There were things that she had missed, and everybody was like, oh, you should just get over it.
Yeah. It's harder to grieve things when people are telling you can't.
Mm-hmm. I mean, those people suck.
And so again, like as a friend, as a support, as someone listening, that's all we have to do. Mm-hmm. We don't have to have any words of any grand words of advice or a list of, the 7 stages. Listen, validate, support. I just remember telling her, my God, and I told her, I said, I have a son. I can't imagine like not celebrating his first birthday, not celebrating him going to kindergarten, and all these things. And so we sat there and we processed through them. And like I said, at the end of our session, at the end of our time together, our, how many ever sessions, she was ready. And that's, again, she had found, and I let her know, now you're at acceptance now, but don't be afraid that when Christmas comes up or his birthday comes up, that you have a feeling.
Yeah, don't push those emotions down.
Yeah. And so I wanted to go back again and touch on the 7 stages because I had brought it up, and it is something that it is hard for people to discuss. It's hard for people to understand. And that's where, again, if you are feeling a loss or going through a grieving process, reach out to someone that knows. Reach out to, someone that isn't going to tell you, oh, just get over it.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a time limit for getting over it. You get over it when you get over it. You get through it.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that's...
What a great, happy, uplifting.
I know, I'm so sorry, but I had mentioned that, and I thought, you know what, I really need to explore that because people are going to be like, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about. No, I do.
She has a degree.
Dude, how many times are we going to mention that damn degree?
I'm tired of that degree, okay?
It's funny. Guys, it's funny. I think it's funny.
Turn it around.
Yeah, don't look at it.
You know how, not only did I have to earn the degree, do you know how much it was to frame that thing?
Frame that
really?
Thing?
My God. Because they have to frame it in a way that it won't like yellow or tarnish.
Oh, yeah.
Or, it's like, oh my God.
UV protection.
Yeah, I swear, everything.
Yeah.
Damn. So yeah, there's the degree.
If a nuke hits this house, that degree's surviving.
It is surviving. Everything else is going. That sucker's surviving, let me tell you.
It's like a titanium frame. Like
I don't know.
It's what Wolverine's bones are made of. Yeah.
But yes, there's the degree, everybody. There's the degree.
I think after this session, you've earned your degree.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm sure the several years of schooling weren't even
this one episode. I think
you are so. Never mind.
This topic.
We'll have a talk in the car on the way home.
This topic and there are other sensitive topics that are not easy to talk about.
Listen, when it comes to grieving, one of my 8 things
7.
is
7.
Were you not listening?
Oh, he's
I'm
adding
adding one.
He's
to
adding.
It now.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
adding. Yeah.
Are
you not listening to me?
Go. I love you, dear. Go ahead.
Is humor.
Yeah, that's a big coper.
I loved it. I mean, that's part of testing, but
I think so. I think so.
But no, I like to just add an 8th there.
Yeah, that was
humor.
like. Hey, I'm gonna bring it back down for a minute. My best friend this past year lost her dad. Like he died of it was like heart failure or something like that. She was like devastated for a long time. She's like, he won't walk down the aisle, things like that. So there was just a time where initially when I got the news of he's passed away, I immediately went over to her house and talked to her. She cried all of it out. And then after of us just like kind of going through it for a while, we just sat there and we laughed. It was just like everything there were jokes going around. Like she was laughing through her tears. Like that's one thing I definitely remember. And
there was a release.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And like, obviously there are still moments where she obviously grieves her dad, but sometimes she'll just text me a joke and like, you know, something like joking about how her dad is dead. And I'm like, damn, I don't know if I should laugh. I know you're coping right now, but I want to laugh with you. But I'm like,
question mark.
I'm like, haha, can I laugh at this? And can I send you memes about this? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to.
And that's when you're supporting a friend. It's like you have to read the room.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah,
because again, I had a client that same type of thing and came in and was just cracking jokes. And I'm like, is this like what? And this person said, Chrissy, this is how I grieve.
Yeah.
I have to make light of this or I'm constantly going to be in a state of depression.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, then let's crack some jokes. Let's laugh. And this person had me rolling at like just some of the things, like talking about this person's dad, like, you know, and that just was what reminded me. And I just remember thinking, okay, this person's in a state of like, you know, like you said, testing. So a couple sessions later, a couple days, weeks, whatever later, came in and was crying. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Now we're going to do this for a minute. And started crying. But like you said, this person turned it into where sitting over, and I remember him being hunched over and like, starts like shaking. And I'm like, what is going on? And just looked at me and goes, I just remembered my dad said.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay.
But of the like coping mechanisms, I think it's definitely one of the healthier ones.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, it's like when humor is so ingrained in you as a person, like probably with your client and my friend, like everything is funny. Everything can be funny. Everything's a joke. Like even if your dad is dead, like things like that. If she hadn't like, after all the tears and all of that, and she had never cracked a joke or said anything like that, then I would have genuinely been very worried. But because, you know, she did have those times where she could laugh at, you know, how absurd things were or how she felt or whatever, I was like, okay, like one day at a time, we'll get there. And she is like, time is still fast. Like I said, she still grieves her dad, obviously. There are still moments, and obviously when she gets married, he will definitely be the forefront of her mind. But, you know, day by day, and she's still laughing. I'm like, okay, we're good.
Well, and again, like you said, that could be a coping skill, and that I remember myself, like when I'm, like I said, I have to hit anger. There's a point in my anger that I'm like laughing at myself because I sound so ridiculous. And I just, 1 minute I'm crying, 1 minute I'm screaming, 1 minute I'm cussing, 1 minute I'm throwing things, and then I'm like, wait a minute. What am I doing? Like, how is this solving anything? Get to work, Christy.
I will have moments where like I'll cry over something and then I'll look back and I'm like, that was like really embarrassing. Like, why did I do that? Just like taking the piss out of myself. I was like, that was really embarrassing.
Well, maybe you needed to be embarrassed. Maybe you need to be knocked down a few, huh?
Maybe. I don't know. Humble myself after crying. Like,
humility.
Yeah. Stay humble.
Well, all right. So yes, that was a little bit heavier than what I usually like to bring in here, but there are those topics that, again, I get to cover. I get to work with that. And again, like I said, I've had to learn how to deal with my own grieving, because everybody's grieving process is different.
Right.
So we can't say, oh, you're not grieving correctly. You're not grieving properly. That's what I've discussed with your stepdad is, when someone corrects how someone's grieving, it irritates me because my grieving process may be completely different from yours.
You may be on 3 while they're on 4.
Exactly.
Or you may be on 2 while they're on 5.
Or I may already be at 7.
Yep.
Yeah.
They may just be starting and you're already done.
Yeah. And so that's why, again, like we can't judge someone's grieving process. I can't judge the stage that you're in. I can't judge myself for not hitting all 7. I've got to be aware that I may never hit all 7.
Right.
But it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Well, all right. Thank you guys for joining me. And we need to get out of your stepdad's office because he's already knocked on the door and reminded us. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for sitting through this heavy topic. And
if you don't want heavy topics and you want pretty happy, fun topics.
If you want to hear about some fun stuff and maybe some goofs and gaffs, you should listen to the I'm Poop podcast that me and Micah are on.
Plugging away. All right. Well,
I don't know.
thank
Just
you.
a suggestion.
Just a suggestion.
You know, seriously. That's
then
why
you
I
can-
have
and
a
then-
degree.
and
That's
then
why
you-
I have
and
the
then-
degree.
yeah.
That's why we don't.
Yep. And then you can come over here and listen to therapy if you hit 7 stages while listening to us.
If you're
'Cause
like, yeah.
You may be grieving one.
I'm like, I've just grieved my time. I've listened to an hour of nothing.
Yeah.
And I need to hear someone educated talk for once.
I enjoy your guys' hours, by the way. Hopefully you enjoy mine. But
Yeah.
thank you for joining me, and listen, subscribe on YouTube
And
Instagram
Spotify.
and Spotify. I never remember Spotify for some
Okay,
reason.
I do because
okay,
I
good.
upload it, so
okay,
I know.
thank you. Spotify. And this has been my Therapy Hat podcast.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.